Good morning. Waging number 22177? New transfer?
Yes.
Good. Look up. So what do you think of your new work pod? Pretty nice, right?
Yeah. It's a bit cramped though.
Oof. That's bad speak. I'll let you sort that out. See you at the mandatory chivalry roll call dance later today.
Yikes. You have violated your employment smart contract. Replaying offending speech.
It's a bit cramped though.
This statement is in direct contradiction with the verified Snopes fact that OpenOffice 2.0 work pods are comfortably spacious, combining the safety of closed cubicles with the communal spirit of OpenOffice environments. You have been deducted 20 good boy tokens from your weekly income. Warning. Projected weekly income is insufficient to meet your weekly rental payment. Please ensure that your wallet is appropriately funded within the next 68 hours.
Oh mein Gott. I coomed.
Oh yeah, he cummed. He cummed to the very idea of the future that he's building for you and your children. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Rudowski of WeAreChange.org. We have a lot of very important information to get to, especially comparing Norway to Australia, and of course to the biggest crap hole in the world, New York. As of course we also have the latest insane statements by the current governor of New York, which we will be talking about, on top of more absolutely illogical, nonsensical dribble from Mr. Joe Biden and his future plans for you and your medical history. But before we get into that, plus a lot more, the clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast is by Leonardo of Biz. I just randomly saw this video. I thought it was brilliant. He only has 7,000 subscribers. We're going to link his channel down in the description below, especially if you want to watch the full video, which in my opinion is an absolute must watch. He called this video Bug's Life, and that quote, "You will be happy." And I think this person absolutely nailed the future that many corporates, globalist elites want for the rest of humanity. Now, just jumping right into it, as we're speaking right now, the alleged top command of the military is speaking to Congress right now and landing some absolute bombshells, as we're finding out from General Milley and McKenzie that both of these generals advised the Biden administration to keep 2,500 U.S. troops in Afghanistan in order to avoid a full takeover of that country by the Taliban. We're learning that Biden, for some reason, ignored both of those recommendations in what the Joint Chiefs chair is calling an absolute botched withdrawal that damaged America. Now, why did Biden not listen to his military commanders? Why did he make Afghanistan an absolute mess? Why did he leave billions of dollars of weaponry to the Taliban? Why was he buying off the Taliban, giving them billions of dollars? Why did he give them a list of all U.S. entities inside of Afghanistan? Why did he give a perfect geopolitical layup to China on the world stage that soon will be spreading their sphere of influence with their Belt and Road Initiative in Afghanistan? Why did he respond to all of this by literally drone bombing 7 children and then lied about it to the world while claiming a victory and recently saying that he has absolutely no regrets with what he did? Now, why does Biden do that? Well, God only knows. Some people are speculating that he was bribed by China, a country which even Elon Musk is publicly praising, as he announced recently that Tesla, his company, will be expanding their investment into the social credit score totalitarian Orwellian system of governance that literally has labor camps for entire ethnic demographics of their country. Elon Musk also said China is a, quote, global leader in digitization privatization and that the Chinese automakers were the, quote, most competitive in the world. It's also important to note that there's many state-run media organizations in China literally preparing their population for war. Literally, people get notifications on their cell phones in China from the government with the latest state propaganda, recently even declaring to the public of China that the Biden administration is asking the Chinese government for help in Afghanistan and other salacious accusations. China also on the world stage has decided to publicly criticize the United Kingdom over their, quote, evil intentions after their warships sailed through Chinese man-made military installations in the region, specifically going through the Taiwan Strait, a country which even American celebrities have to publicly decry and apologize for officially recognizing. There was also vague threats made against Australia that China would nuke them, as they would be made a, quote, potential nuclear war target after the United States decided to work with Australia, giving them nuclear submarines recently. As of course, the United States, UK, and Australia have announced a new alliance called AUKUS to, quote, target China, as of course tensions between Oceania and East Asia are rising to very high, significant levels. Sorry, that's the 1984 term for the West and the East, but most likely we're in a very similar situation. A lot of this, in my opinion, is absolutely pointless and ridiculous, to say the least, but most likely the tensions will only get worse from here. Now, before continuing on with our broadcast, we wanted to remind you about one of the companies that I have been working with for a very long time, a number of years now, and that, of course, is SafePreparedAndReady.com. They have amazing storable food that is absolutely tasty, lasts you 25 years. I use these on hiking trips. I like having these. It gives me a peace of mind, and this is a company that I have enjoyed working with because I like them. I think you will too, and if you're interested in them, check out SafePreparedAndReady.com. This is the fancy side of storable food, but even regardless of this, I hope you still have a bag of rice and beans, some water filters, and are at least somewhat prepared for the future ahead, which we're going to be talking about in an unfiltered way, specifically on LukeUncensored.com later on today, especially highlighting some very interesting interviews with NBA players. We got a lot to discuss there, as I will be going over all the potential future scenarios ahead for today's official video on LukeUncensored.com, which will be coming out later on today, which you will get a notification about in our email. Now, I think it's fair to say that many people in the world are in a particular place, especially places like Australia, where people are getting body slammed and kicked in the head for not wearing a mask in the public or in nature by themselves, or on the beaches, as dozens of officers storm individuals and hit them while they are down, as religious preachers, like in Canada, get arrested and prosecuted for the crime of following their religion and not obeying the state's made-up doctrines and own religious beliefs that it puts on citizens. Compare that to, of course, what's happening in places like Texas, Florida, Sweden, and of course Norway, where the government has just officially ended its 561 days of lockdowns with less than 24 hours notice, which have led to absolute celebrations in the streets, fireworks going off, people going to nightclubs, partying wildly almost everywhere they could, as the 2 weeks to stop the spread lasted an incredible 561 days, as the government has announced that any mandates, any requirement, any domestic passport system was null and void, and the people overwhelmingly decided to come out and support their personal liberties and freedoms to decide what is right for them to do for themselves. Something that, of course, is deserved to be celebrated, since of course it is so rare to have, not only in recorded human history, but also in our current modern day environment, where governments are literally threatening jail time for people not closely obeying their domestic government permission slip system, where people have to jump through government hoops in order to get their approval in order to go to a supermarket or a restaurant. As announced by governments in Australia, where they're planning to literally jail people who didn't take a medical procedure and entered businesses without the government permission slip that they're given by their overlords for complying with their wishes. Wishes that don't end at one medical procedure, but indefinite ones, third ones, fourth ones, fifth ones, sixth ones, as perfectly exemplified by the President of the United States that just took his third shot. A shot that many people will, of course, need to comply with to keep up with their domestic passport systems. And when asked about when things will finally return to normal, Joe Biden responded when, quote, 98% of Americans get this procedure themselves. A number that is absolutely ridiculous, unrealistic, and absolutely horrifying, since, of course, this wasn't said in jest. This wasn't said as something humorous. This was said as something serious. And scientifically, there are a lot of medical experts that would absolutely disagree with this larger goal that Joe Biden has personally announced for the American people, which would put a lot of people who can't take this procedure for medical reasons in a very, very bad predicament, to say the least. This over-the-top zealousness is, of course, met by the current governor of New York that replaced a skeezy man who locked down the state more than other states across America with his medical policies that have resulted in very little difference compared to states that did the opposite of what he did. His replacement is someone who looks like she has similar aspirations as the former governor when it comes to controlling other people's bodies, as she just recently announced that this procedure, this shot, is from God and that she needs everyone to be the apostles. Yes, I'm not kidding you. The governor literally declared that people who don't take this procedure are, quote, not listening to God, as her comments have been linked with trying to declare a state religion, which I think is fairly accurate here, with the overzealousness and cult-like behavior that absolutely deserves to be called out by this person who's acting like they're on a major payroll by Big Pharma, that, of course, clearly is going to be benefiting greatly for these overzealous cult-like behaviors by people in power demanding to control the bodily autonomy of the people who live in their vicinity. This right here is just absolutely dangerous, delusional thinking that is as unscientific as it is ridiculous. As people are literally tattooing big pharma companies onto their bodies. In related news, we also got the latest drop from Project Veritas that released a video from insiders from Johnson & Johnson with one business executive and one scientist working at the firm that were saying that kids absolutely shouldn't take their own procedure that they were working on. And the scientist working on this even told this undercover reporter not to take this procedure herself. Bombshell news that we're going to be waiting to see what statement Johnson & Johnson releases about this particular event, since of course these are pretty big revelations here released by Project Veritas. We're still waiting to get the full authenticity of everything here, but if what Project Veritas released here is true, this is absolutely huge. It's major. As of course, the government is continuing on a policy where they literally want to make 98% of the people follow their religion and give up their bodily autonomy to the state and multinational corporations. This, as many frontline medical professionals, especially in New York, are saying no. And you would think, if anyone we should listen to here, it would be the frontline workers that are seeing everything unfold from the very beginning of this, the people who are treating people for this sickness, the people that are administering this procedure and seeing the results of it. You would think if you would listen to anyone, it would be those individuals who are seeing everything more than anyone else, more than overzealous, bureaucratic out-of-touch politicians that don't understand what's going on. The nurses, the medical professionals know what's going on more than anyone else, and they're saying no. And because of that, the New York State overzealous religious leader is announcing that these medical professionals will be fired, even though there's a labor shortage, even though there's a health crisis, even though we need hospitals more than ever. The New York governor is saying no. She's going to fire medical professionals and put lives at risk because these medical professionals are not complying with her cult-like religion, and they're deciding not to get this procedure. The governor also announced that they will be denied, quote, unemployment insurance, which is, I bet, illegal, and I bet there's going to be a lawyer that's going to be fighting this. The governor also announced that she is, quote, looking at foreign workers, at replacing a lot of these professional health workers that were just deemed heroes a few weeks ago. And now we're hearing that she may use the National Guard in order to replace these health workers. Now, if you are a National Guardsman, I think acting like a scab against our current heroes and medical professionals in the health industry that have helped us throughout all of this is absolutely a horrible action. It's definitely not the right step to make here, as of course there's many legal battles here that are going to be unfolding that are going to be very interesting to watch and look over. In response to this, a lot of people are protesting. New York, which is not known for its protest, is showing a lot of significant protest activity against a lot of this nonsense, against a lot of these protocols. In Israel, people are doing the same as they're finding out that they're going to need to take indefinite medical procedures to be compliant with their domestic passport system. People are coming out in droves protesting this, and clearly, if these protests show you anything, if the people in Norway show you anything, is that people had enough of government officials ruling and controlling their existence. The medical professionals in New York, we should listen to. The nurses, we should respect. The doctors that are seeing everything unfold and still saying no should have a voice at the table. And we should have a real discussion about what's really happening on the front lines and why there's so much hesitancy to this. At least there should be a conversation. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not telling people what to do. But at the end of the day, I would trust the medical professionals over the politicians that aren't seeing exactly what's happening on the front lines and are ruling by decree over their religious zealot cult-like behavior that is becoming more dangerous to almost everyone, according to my own personal opinion. If you think I'm wrong, let me know why in the comment section below. I always appreciate your constructive feedback. I always appreciate your input. I don't always get things right. Sometimes I make simple, stupid mistakes. It happens. No one is ever perfect, and that's why we always tell you to do your own homework, do your own research, and to critically think and evaluate the information for yourself. And because you do that, you're a part of this larger tribe, a part of this larger base of individuals that are incentivizing and supporting independent media. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. This is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for a lot more here on wearechange.org. Wait for another video on lukeuncensored.com as well.